and welcome to the fifth episode of At the End of the Day show. Tonight we only have a few of our hosts with us due to conflicting schedules, we will be discussing what happened at Congress sessions and INC and Board of Directors meetings, all at DeMolay International sessions. We'll be discussing a few of the key call items and including the video I posted and what happened with that. So to start off, let's get to the call item that Brother Hastings was the big proponent of, and that was the drop down. Would you guys talk about that?
I'd love to. So, as in many years past, it was brought up that the drop down, which is that anyone running for International Master Counselor can drop down and run for International Congress Secretary. I was adamantly against this. There is only one situation where I'd ever be for it, and unfortunately that failed this year. We didn't hit majority, and the amendment I proposed was the only time we are allowed to have someone drop down for the office of International Congress Secretary from International Master Counselor during the election process is in years where we'll only have one or less people running for the office of International Congress Secretary. That way we really do have a choice on who we believe is the best candidate for the office. Because there have been years in the past where only one person ran for International Congress Secretary, and they were definitely not the best person for the office. However, there was 5 people that ran for IMC, and one of those brothers were better for the office. However, they weren't able to run. This is the only time I'd ever be for it. I'm avidly against the drop down unless it's this situation, because you're then degrading the office of International Congress Secretary, in my opinion, if you have someone else be able to run for it automatically. Let's say you have 2 for IMC, 3 for ICS, and the person loses IMC. So now everyone's going to vote for him for ICS because they're going to feel bad for him not being able to get the office. So I really feel that you're then degrading the office of International Congress Secretary when, as the bylaws now state, that they are equivalent. While yes, I do understand the job titles are different and one may do a little more than the other, as of now, the job duties state that they're equivalent, and unless you change that, we should leave it how it is and not enact drop down.
Sep, do you have any thoughts about that, or how the call item was voted on? And Sep, for those of you who don't know, wasn't a delegate, but he was there to witness some of what happened at Congress.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I can't really comment because my statement isn't really valid as far as like how the election gone. You know, I'm not a delegate. You know, I am a senior DeMolay. I'm kind of like totally out of the loop. In a sense, it's not my problem anymore. But under the auspices of what I witnessed and what the outcome of the election was, I don't believe that it completely justifies the office of International Congress Secretary because it belittles the office by what happened this year. Quentin Cockerham is an incredible person. I've met him before. He's a great DeMolay. He absolutely deserves the office. But it became a consolation prize. You know, people dropped out. It was really weird how it all happened. And whether it's right or wrong, if I was looking at the bylaws and the way it was written and also the way it played out, I don't quite understand why the current International Master Counselor, the current Grand Master, and not the incoming Grand Line had the opportunity to choose who their Congress Secretary was. The Grand Line that was going out, or the Grand Master that was going out, the Congress advisor that was going out, the International Master Counselor that was going out. Those people chose who the next leader was, which I don't get. They didn't have the incoming didn't have the opportunity to choose who they were going for. Again, there's a lot of blurred lines that maybe should be, cleared up. But again, I'm not part of the Congress anymore. Mine was 2 years ago. But as far as I'm concerned, the call item does separate legitimacy for the office. I thought it should have gone through, especially through the amendments that Brother Hastings put. But
you bring up a great point with the it's something I've been thinking about for a while now. Is that the outgoing people were deciding what would happen when the incoming people had no voice or no say in that particular manner. Uh, I didn't really quite get that either. I thought at least consult them or something. Go ahead.
But I can't quote the bylaws
Hmm.
exactly, and I probably shouldn't be making statements like that considering I don't know the bylaws verbatim, but
Right.
I don't know what the bylaws state in the absence of any candidates for International Congress Secretary, what the process goes through. From what I read and from what I was communicated with, and again, that's not valid or it's not like it doesn't have any substance, but from what I heard was that the Grandmaster, the International Congress Secretary, and the Congress Advisor were the people who chose that office. But the thing is, it wasn't taken into consideration that maybe the Congress Advisor, International Master Counselor, and the Grand Master that were incoming, and also the people that were elected and were chosen, had the choice to choose their own Congress Secretary. So that's, again, bylaws and amendments that I think, if we run into a situation, maybe the Congress should consider.
So, for a change of bylaw on this, Zep, I think you may agree with me. What do you suggest that maybe one of our brothers next year was to propose, let's say, in absence of anyone running, that there is allowed to be nominations from the floor? Because, for instance, we had like 2 or 3 brothers this year that were willing to run from the floor, however, they weren't allowed to because of the current bylaws. So, what do you think about maybe a change in the bylaws proposed next year to allow for that?
Again, what happens is it doesn't allow for due process. The problem with not screening candidates, not talking to the EO, now that's a sensitive subject with me, but it's important that a screening happens with EOs. You know, state master counselors get observed through their influence as far as social media, their personal impact that they have in their state and across the jurisdictions, as well as other jurisdictions. There needs to be screening and a due process, because a lot of people that were running last year, they're like, well, who are they? I've never heard of them. They weren't running initially, so it was just a lot of confusion and scrambling in order to find someone to fill the position. It's kind of like if the CEO of Apple goes missing, you don't just scramble in the board of directors or some sort of chaos in order to fill the position. It's got to be interviews. There's due process. So the idea is right because we only meet once a year. So nominating off the floor is a little chaotic. But again, the Congress has to choose what is more efficient for them. If the Congress believes that electing off the floor is the best thing, great. It gives them more power because they're allowed to choose their candidate. But again, as you said, some people run and we don't know whether they're the best candidate. So that should be the decision of the Congress, in my opinion, and not necessarily the decision of the board or Grand Line.
Now, for the next call item, the Squires program passed to and David, do you have any experience with Squires? We've talked about it before, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I originally, Tennessee, we have a Squire program. I originally joined Squires so I could join DMLA. At that time, it was 11 years old to be in Squire, and now it's 8 to 12. I wish I had those extra couple years in DMLA. I mean, I think all of us can speak that we would like to have that extra time in. But the Squires program is a great program. It's very useful in Tennessee. My home chapter actually has a Squire program, and we're really starting to see the advantages of having this program. The young men are coming in at a younger age into DMLA, pretty much. They're starting to understand what's going on more. And so by the time they get to being 12 years old, and now you're not having to teach the guys how to square the corners, you're cutting things out. They're already understanding certain processes. They understand the chain of command, how things are supposed to be done. They're already learning how to memorize the work. It's really a great benefit to DMLA because from Lodge, in Lodge, let's say, you have someone that's a DMLA and then someone that's not. Generally, the DMLA picks it up a lot quicker because he's used to doing the ritual practice and understanding that, all right, square your corners, you know how to do the ritual work, you know the floor work already. And it's just at an earlier age. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's a great program, and it's also a great way to hit a younger generation to try getting them prepared to becoming a DMLA.
Now, that was the point I was going to make exactly, is that like a DMLA to a Mason, it's a great stepping stone, and they know what to expect. Now, tell us what they did with DMLA International and that went out over Squires International, or across the board.
What they did, as of now, until session, Squires was really a pilot program. You had it here, there, and none of it was uniform. So there was no Tennessee. We wrote our own Squire ritual. Oklahoma, from what I understand, had their own Squire ritual. Brazil had their own Squire ritual. Everyone had, and then you had all these different programs that they do with it. Like Tennessee, we had our Squires create a coat of arms that described who they were. I'm not sure what the other states did, but this legitimized the Squires program. Until then, from what I understand, they weren't covered by our insurance because they weren't a class member of DMLA, but now they're legitimized as DMLA. They fall under the DMLA program like the DMLA alumni. They have their own class membership. Now everything's going to start getting uniform. They're going to have their own ritual, their own logo. And so this really makes it where it's probably going to bring about where other states are like, okay, this is an actual program and it's working for these other areas. And DMLA International has recognized them, so let's actually try this and see how it works. So I think really it was more of a rubber stamp, solidifying, making it official, and I'm 100% behind what DI did for this situation.
Yeah, I think it's really good. My state doesn't have Squires, and even though this passed, we still won't have Squires, which is a shame, because I know we've had a lot of interest in it from chapters and from potential Squire members. But going off of that, dues. We went over the call item for dues, and it passed in the Congress but failed in ISC unanimously. Even the people who wrote the call item and the major proponents of it for the International Supreme Council, when they voted, even they didn't vote for it, and that was kind of humorous to me. It was a really hot topic, but for Squires, they do have to pay, and I'm not sure if I'm correct on the price, but I believe it's $19 a year, or maybe that was what was the DMLA price was going to be. But Squires do have to pay an annual fee, and that surprised me. Seth, did that surprise you at all?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Squires. Well, I've had the opportunity to visit Florida, and Florida has two pilot programs. One of them was knighthood, and the other one was Squire. Now, I know knighthood now has its own ritual and was voted upon quite a couple years ago, but they were the initial start of the prior program, just like Tennessee, or knighthood program, just like Tennessee was. And then same thing with the Squires. They also have a successful Squire program. My opinion on the Squires program, it's a great thing because it catches DMLAs right before they go into high school and they start becoming active in sports. So that's a huge thing. It's like parents want to really get them into sports and other things and clubs to get them out and doing things to try to find scholarships for school. DMLA is the exact same thing. It is a youth fraternity where if they become active in DMLA, they are offered scholarships from Grand Lodge, from Supreme Council of Southern Jurisdiction, Northern Jurisdiction Supreme Council. I don't know if Shriners has one. I think York Wright has one. I know Grand Encampment has a weird one. But it gives an opportunity for kids to just, I shouldn't say kids, for young men to really kind of grow into the fraternity. And I see it more as a big brother program. Now, as far as dues is concerned, it is an ongoing issue, and I don't have enough information concerning Masonic membership standards as far as like what would happen to Masonic foundations if all of a sudden dues stopped and it was only a one-time deal. I know for a fact that Masonic lodges are closing, they're being sold, the buildings are being demolished, they don't have enough money in order to fix the house at the temple. You know, dues is a very essential thing in order to keep a foundation alive. Now, again, I don't agree with a lot of what the board of directors has spent the money on. $1.5 million for a video game, $250,000 or some odd I don't know the exact numbers, but quite a number of money for a database that we got a lot of other budgeted numbers for with significantly less, but for some reason they wanted this company. And yet the website still isn't up. But, it all is just kind of evolving. It all requires money. So where is the money coming from? There's only so many dividends. There's only so much the economy is moving in order for us to make money off of our dividends. We have to really start to look at how we're spending our money. So one of the ways that we can capture it is, the people that make the argument of the exclusivity by paying $19 a year is ridiculous. I know kids that live in the ghetto in Maryland that have an incredible DMLA experience, and the only reason they're actually active in DMLA was because Maryland DMLA picked up their tab. And we were happy to do it because we wanted them to have an experience. So now you want to create a blue collar or a white collar organization where it's leadership, it has legitimacy, but we're not allowed to have other people that can't afford it. It does not compute. Same thing with me. I had trouble with my Scottish Rite dues, but I found someone that was willing to help me until I could catch up. So I think we need to be able, if we're going to roll out dues, we need to have a pilot program. Start at $10 a year. Something that jurisdictions can afford before they start becoming hit with a big bill. That call item really needs to be digested. It needs to go through the ringer a couple times, and it needs to be adopted, changed, and amended based on jurisdictional coffers, dividends on investment as far as International's foundation is concerned, and also membership statistics concerning every jurisdiction. Because if somebody like Delaware or the Dakotas or whatever state is hurting financially to the point where it can't even support itself, you can't slap it with a certain number of dues based on people on the books. Because I don't know how DMLA is going to set that up, whether they're just going to be like, all right, you got 400 members on the books, so you owe this amount of money. And then therefore the jurisdictions have to reach out to the members in order to get the money. And then it's like if they can't do it, then their membership statistics are kind of kaput. But, again, I don't know the exact formula of how the call item was worded, but I do think it needs to be amended based on, economic ties and also what's best for the organization financially.
I agree with that. I totally don't understand why if you're going to make one of the two pay, you make the little kids pay. And of course it's coming from their parents, but it's still like their first experience. Maybe if they're Esquire and they moved up to DMLA and then they have to pay dues for that, that would be a little bit more understandable, but I still don't get it. I think DMLA International could find many other ways to make money, to save money, and to not have to start making these kids pay.
Do you have a
and also to show where they're spending their money.
Do you have a suggestion? Because I've been trying to figure this out for years. What is your suggestion so international or Masonic foundations can make other forms of money? Because parades and crap like that is not working.
That's also something I've been thinking about a lot. I don't have any suggestion off the top of my head that I've thought out well enough to say it would work, but I feel with the amount of people we have in our organization, there's some way that somebody can think of a good, viable option that will make money. I mean, I'm 21. I'm not as successful as some of the business owners that I know who are Masons, who invest their money nonstop and build their 401k up and everything like that, and they know what they're doing. But we don't consult them nearly enough as we should. We don't get their input the way we should. I mean, our foundation has somebody on there who is worth over $1 million and everything like that, and he's helped our state a lot. But DMLA International needs to do something across the board that can make money that doesn't waste it, like Kingdom of DMLA or whatever. Our program with our charity Relay for Life. You ask a kid what our connection is to them, and they won't know it.
No.
We pay money to use their name. We pay money to help them, but we don't really get much out of it. I think something needs to be done with that as well. So moving on, is there another call item you guys want to talk about before I get into my video?
Um, well, another one of the bylaws that was brought up that session was it was by Brother Gabe Jones of Oregon. He brought up that when you run for national office, you must propose a membership program, which this passed unanimously through the Congress, and I'm 100% behind that idea because Derek said you can both vouch. Y'all both been to cabinet retreats. At cabinet retreat is really when we first start planning our membership program, and it's so hard to then start off because Derek, this year we worked really hard on that Rush program. You did an awesome job designing the shirts, but problem was we didn't even start the membership program until November. We had 6 months to make sure we had everything done, and we didn't really start till January. So then we had 2 months really before March hit, and so we were like, and it's so hard getting the jurisdictions behind it. And that's another thing is we've got to wrangle in the jurisdictions to get behind DI again, especially on the membership programs, because within my region, I had several states pretty much tell me they weren't going to do it, and I helped with 2 other regions, and they told me they weren't going to do it. Several state jurisdictions in that area, and it's like, really, if we yield allegiance to DMLA International, if they promote a program, you really should have to do it. I mean, it's a membership program. There really wasn't much behind it, other than jurisdiction does what they normally do, trying to get members. And all we wanted them to do was put pen to paper and invite guys out, try saying how many they're going to bring in, and we couldn't even get them in on it. And in all honesty, that's ridiculous, and we have to make sure we can get the jurisdictions behind it, and we need a membership program on day one. Chandler and Quentin, as soon as they both announced, they both had a membership program, which was great. They've already merged them too, so.
I agree with that call item as well, because we do need to have a plan that we can see and vote on. Like, we're not just voting on the person, we're voting on their plan. We're voting on what they're going to do the next year. And that Rush program, I had a lot of issues with that. I tried to get states to do it too, and they also said no. And I reached out to people, and it was discouraging to us as cabinet members when we have states who won't work with us. And it wasn't even just with Rush Week. It was with all the programs that we were trying to do, all the things we were trying to do to unite the states together. And Region 2 is pretty unified because we're close. We can go, like, hang out with each other. Like, I know Sepp will go hang out with Jordan Selby of New Jersey, and he goes with the Pennsylvania guys. We're close enough to travel, but that lack of enthusiasm and dedication in that aspect really hurt us last year. Also, that Rush program lacked incentive because we were trying to encourage them to encourage their people, to encourage other people to join DMLA, but there was a really, really bad lack of incentive to get them in and to get the other people to do work. And those people, the state officers, shouldn't necessarily need incentive other than supporting DMLA, but to put out a program like that, we really need to have a solid incentive. Yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Seth, do you have any on how that went?
I actually have a lot that I have to say right now. First thing, David, can you exactly tell me what Chandler and Quentin's membership plan is?
All right, so they've pretty much implemented the Rush program, except it's going to take place twice this year. It's going to be later this fall, and it's going to be once again in March. I believe they're doing it in November because, November is supposed to be a big DMLA month. I mean, November 8th is important to DMLA, so I think it's during November, and then it's going to be during the normal DMLA month, which is March. And the idea is they're going to pretty much take the Rush program. They're going. We all had to submit little things on what we thought worked, what we didn't. And so we're going to have to go, they're going to look over that, and they're going to try solidifying it and correcting it. I'm really not sure how it's going to work this year with the whole removal of the cabinet thing. I'm still avidly against that. But I think it's going to be really hard. I mean, we have like 4 cabinet members, but it's going to be hard, I believe, and I think they have communications liaisons or something. But it's going to be hard, I think, because you don't have the representation in the regions where they know exactly who they're supposed to talk to. For instance, I know several of my guys from Tennessee. I would have been the same way last year going to cabinet member. If I had some guy calling me from, let's say, New Jersey telling me how I'm going to run things in my area, and yet they have no idea how the regional area is of this. I mean, come on, we're the Deep South. You pretty much have to be Southern or know how to talk to us without coming off wrong to us, and it's really hard to do that. Then you have people in New Jersey, Maryland, they talk different. The way they act's a lot different than how we act. And so you really need someone from that regional perspective area to really be able to understand how the areas are working. And then you have the intercommunication between the states. Like Tennessee and North Carolina have become close. Tennessee and Georgia are close. You need someone that interacts with that state ahead of time before. You don't need to appoint someone halfway across the country to be in charge of this area. It becomes really hard, and you really need the representation from that area.
You're skipping ahead to the next call item, but
they merged one and one.
Right.
So.
But other than the Rush Week program, was there anything else in their membership program?
The simple answer is no.
I'm really not sure. It was more of an expounded thing. Like I think when they had their meeting the first night with the future lineup and Dad Norquette, they had a meeting with him also because he's going to be the new Congress advisor. So it was really he had to look at it and make sure that they're actually doing what they're going to in order to run for office. So I don't think it's something that has been expounded on to all of us yet, but I believe it's something that's going to come out soon, I hope.
If you go to the 49th International Congress page, which is what I'm on right now, whoever is admin of this, I don't know who is admin, posted a couple slides. Program 2, the Rush program, and the goal is to institute a DMLA Rush program in the month of November and to hold a second Rush in the month of March. Double the amount of Rush months to achieve the highest percentage of DMLA growth possible. Does anybody, and this is like a general question, does anybody know the results of the Rush Week Rush month last year?
Did you know the answer? They were aiming for 1,000. I think they reached 340. I'm not positive, but I feel like it was something much lower than what they wanted to. And I get the whole point of aiming high, and you might not get up there, but it failed, in my opinion.
We reached positive growth because of the membership efforts of foreign jurisdictions, which is awesome. Awesome that internationally we reached positive growth. But how can we increase drive in the continental U.S.? That is the $36 million, or I think it's how big is our foundation? $1.6 million question. But that's we as state master counselors and senior DMLAs and future leaders masonically need to figure out how to bring back the spark to the continental U.S. as far as DMLA International. Now, if we go on to the next program, Pillars of Charity is a huge thing that they're focusing on in DMLA International, which is a Scottish Rite charity, to donate to have Dad Land's picture put up in the House of the Temple. Program 4 is the Congress newsletter, which is great. First Wednesday of every month. I got mine from Quentin this month. And then the DMLA app, which is awesome, which is something that we need to be definitely on board with. Long-term ritual plan, awesome. Retention. The thing is that they didn't. I wish they expanded upon the retention plan because I'd love to be able to implement that. That's a great idea. I think when Chandler ran on that, I thought that was a great idea because the only thing that I didn't agree with was he said that we need to focus more on retention rather than recruitment, because we need to get people to stay. But the truth is, because we have an age gap only between 12 to 21, we need to do both. We need to continuously recruit as well as retain and keep it entertaining. Transparency, make the 49th International Congress clear and concise unit with published goals, programs, long-term plans, and process updates, making the Congress easy to follow and understand and complete year to year. I really hope they do this. I'm really excited for that. But there's still a little bit like of stuff that I'd love more transparency on, as far as like the rush program, how they plan on do it, retention, how they plan on doing it, legislation, consent with members. Hold on, there's one thing that I really want to talk about. Here we go. Have legislation distributed to all Congress delegates at least 30 days prior to the start of session 2016. Awesome. Here it is. Here's the thing that really upset me. It was actually the retention plan, which I should have went back on. But it says, get welcome letters from both the Congress officers sent to all new members initiated this year. I think it should be the state master counselors. Develop a program to help retain the initiatives of DMLA International for their first 6 months in our organization. Ready? Purpose this plan, or propose this plan at session 2016 as means for the new Congress to implement during the next year. So we don't have a retention plan for this year. We have a retention plan for next year.
That is crazy that it is for next year, not for this year. Retention is a major aspect of DMLA, because I believe like the whole build it and they will come. Like if you have something in DMLA that is what we have is an amazing thing, and building on that retention, getting people so like really excited to be in DMLA and to be doing DMLA things, that will help bring in the members. And to kind of push it off to next year is a shame, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's nothing that we can control, but the next Congress officers, I hope next year's Congress officers are listening to this, and saying, well, I got to start planning now. I want to put something together and submit it to Chandler. I want to put something together and submit it to Quentin, because, I know Jordan Selvey's actually on that committee, and he's called me a couple times, concerning the issue. He's a host here at the end of the day. Again, nothing is perfect, and I'm not saying that DMLA International isn't flawed. I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault. I'm saying that when I gave my speech in Florida, membership is on a deteriorating nosedive. It is something. It is a reality, and we need plans. And one of the things is we keep electing these Congress officers, and we don't have concrete plans. We have statements. And a lot of the slides, if you look, and it's right there, if all of you go to the 49th International DMLA Congress page, it's all right there. They're statements. They're not plans. DMLA International website is still not working. I can't get membership statistics or log into a profile. eScribe is not working for me. I've called International a couple times and I haven't gotten really any response. But
my feeling on it is that the statements are just to make it more broad, so they have room to work with it this year. But they do need to have something that's set in stone, that's solid, that people can see and understand and try and help out with. Because when it's so broad, it's kind of just chaotic, and we need to focus. We need a focus. And going off the website thing also is that it's ridiculous that the website doesn't work right now. The only reason it doesn't work right now is because they pushed it out at session. And they didn't even push out the new website at session. They could have kept the old one until they actually finished this one, instead of putting out a product that doesn't work.
They want to show progress, which is amazing. But let me ask you this, Derek.
They can show that without making that our official site.
Let me ask you. We're going to go back to a statement. If you said they wanted wiggle room. If you ran personally for International Master Counselor, would you have a set plan, membership plan, everything for your term? Would you be ready to go?
Of course, because I wouldn't go into an office not knowing what I was going to do in it. I'd feel helpless and I'd feel lost. I would have to have a set plan. When I went in to be SMC, I had a plan because I knew I was running for that position, so I could put that in place and help my state. I didn't have it all written out necessarily. I didn't have like a term plan set out, but I had things I knew I wanted to do, and I was going to do them. I didn't get everything done, but I had a plan. and I knew what I wanted to do to Helmet State, and I couldn't write something really broad, thinking, oh well, I'll make it up as I go along. And that's not what I'm saying what Chandler is doing, because I think Chandler and Quentin are going to be great together, and they're going to do great things for DeMille International. But I couldn't go into it with something that was really broad and just didn't have any specific direction.
And that was the basic question is, you're no longer a delegate, unfortunately, but as a delegate, and you elected him, that I wanted to know your opinion on, if you were in that position, how would you handle this? Do you think the Congress
I got nominated.
Well, yeah, but if, stop laughing, David. If you were in his shoes and this Congress was yours, is this how you would be running it personally? I guess I feel like the host now. Sorry. Would you change anything, like, personally? Like, if you were still a delegate, or if you were IMC?
I don't know if I would change anything to say, like, what he's doing isn't right, because I have a lot of faith in him. But I know I would do things a little bit differently. I would totally redo Rush Week and make it something, like, have substance. And I'd have a solid retention plan that I would go to, personally, I would go to the SMCs of every state and try and figure out what worked for them and combine what worked, and not just go off of what I had in my own state or anything like that. And not go off of what DeMille International has just set in place right now, which really isn't much of anything. I'd go in with a solid plan. I'd have a solid retention plan. I'd have a solid membership plan, and I would have some reform for the programs that are in place to make them worth keeping. So are there any other call items that you guys want to talk about before I get into my thing? I'll take that as enough. Afterwards, we'll talk about the programs. So I made a video recently because we didn't have a show last week, which this was supposed to be the show. And I talked about what happened with the call item that changed from regional cabinet members to being appointed cabinet at large, I guess, and took away the vote of the cabinet. And that video was quite long, it was 17 minutes or so, and I discussed how I felt cheated and how I believe the Congress felt cheated. And since that video has been put up, we've had an outpouring of support, not only myself but the other hosts of the show. And it's been really nice. I really appreciated all those comments and emails and calls and everything. A few people were unhappy with it, of course, which I expected, and I even said in my video. But I just want to first of all thank everybody for the outpouring of support. And get to the main point of that is that now, since that video has been in place, an investigation has been started into what happened during the Congress and what's going to happen at the outcome of the investigation. And we will hear back in August at the Board of Directors meeting what their plan is, what they came up with, and what they decided based on their investigation into Congress. So hopefully, until then, the video is hidden right now, and it will be back up at the end of the investigation, just giving them some time to work things out and come up with a plan, because does DeMille International ever really have a plan? Hopefully something comes out that is solid, that we can show the members, and the truth will prevail. At the end of the day, the truth will prevail. Whether that's through me, our show, DeMille International, I hope it's through them. I hope it's through everybody. It'll be nice to see what comes out of this. So the video was a success, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for that. Seth or David, would you guys like to speak?
Well, personally, I've gotten a lot of calls about your video, and I think Derek, as a brother, Masonic and DeMille, I thought it was very brave of you. And again, I wasn't in the session, so I can't really speak on anything. I have no idea what happened. But I just want to make the statement, if the International Master Counselor disobeyed the vote of the Congress, shame on him. Honestly. That's all I have to say. It's just shame on him.
Thank you, Seth. David, based on you staying muted, I don't believe you have anything, but if you do, let me know. Yeah, it is a shame if that is the case. I really hope it's not. I think James is a great person. I think he's a hardworking person, and he cares about DMLA. And I don't think, in particular, he was acting like he was. I think there was more to it. I think there were more people involved. It of course is never just one person. But I think he had some outside pressure that really pushed it to happen. And we'll see in the investigation whether or not DMLA International believes it happened. So we'll just have to wait and see. But please continue to support the show and support getting the truth out there, because transparency is a key factor in where our organization is going. Because if we let things go, if we hide things, if we choose to ignore things, we're not going to get anywhere and we will die. So it is really important, and thank you for that, guys. Now, moving on to the programs that DMLA International came out with. Delta program. David, we worked on that in December back in Colorado Springs. And I think that's a great program. I think that's one of the things that we'll highlight this year is how the Delta program is executed. Would you like to explain that a little bit and what goes on with that?
The Delta program, for those of you that don't know, I was the chairman for that program this year. Delta stands for DMLA Experiences Leadership Training Assessment. We wanted to create a program this year. It's an advancement program is what we called it. So many of you know about the letter program that Dad Sprague started this year, which really took off with a lot of the young men. It created a new incentive instead of all the old ones we've always had that, let's be honest, Sep, Derek, most of us have achieved most of those. And then after a while, we got our PMCMSAs, we got our collars. And so our jurisdictions wouldn't allow us to wear, let's say, our merit bars. So we stopped working on the merit bars. So that whole program stopped. But this new program, what I like about it so much is the fact that it's over-encompassing. It has you not only work to develop this one program and trying to achieve your Delta Award, but at the same time, in order to get it, you must achieve and accomplish other things like your RD, your LCCs, your Founders Membership Award, your Blue Honor Key, your Gold membership bar, your Gold Ritual Bar, Gold Masonic Service. So it's having you work on all these other programs while working towards one, and it's divided into seven levels. Each of them is based off a cardinal virtue because 7 is like the DMLA number. So your first level, you get 1 for automatically joining. There's like 40 items you can choose on the list. You have like 1 to 5. If you complete 5 of them, you get your first one. And you complete your first level. After that, you do like 5 to 10, you get your second. The numbers, obviously, I'm saying right now are off because I think there's like 45 items in all. But you can choose anything from out of the list to work on at any time. You can start out working on the hard stuff. You can start out working on the easy stuff. You can mix it up. So it's really, you're advancing yourself. It's, hate to say this, but it's like the Eagle Scout for Boy Scouts. Because what are all guys trying to achieve when they're in Boy Scouts? They're all wanting their Eagle Scouts. So we're trying to create something equivalent to that for DMLA to achieve. I mean, because, yes, the RD is really the highest we can get unless you get your Chevalier, but that's an honor. So we wanted to create an award that was equivalent to the honor of the Chevalier. And so not every young man gets their Chevalier, whether it be through political purposes, they just didn't earn it, the chapter just never nominated them. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, but this one actually makes sure the young man is in charge and is the one who really drives and determines whether or not he gets this award. As of now, if you put on your resume, you're a Chevalier for DeMolay, it means nothing on a resume really. No one understands. However, if you put you're an Eagle Scout, everyone understands what that is. All right, he was in Boy Scouts. So we wanted to create the equivalent for DeMolay. So we created the Delta program. So
Now,
that's
when we
pretty
actually
much it.
created it, I know it's hard for you to get it out that it is like the Eagle Scout program. You kind of stuttered and stopped there, but it really is, because when we came up with it and worked it out in the beginning at the cabinet retreat, Dad Connor and Dad Wood, they put down the Boy Scout manual in front of us and had us look through it and come up with ideas. So it literally is just copying that as a base and going off of it and trying to build it up for DeMolay and change it to fit our organization. And I think so far we've done a good job at that. People working on it have done a great job on it. And the fact that it is so broad that you can get different things and use them. So no matter what you're doing, you can start to advance in it. But to make sure you get to the top, it takes a lot of hard work. And that helps with the retention. It's not something that you're just going to get and you're done. But it's something that you're going to really have to work for. And hopefully it gets up there to be with Eagle Scouts. For instance, there's a boy in my state who I've mentioned on the show before, and his name is Jared Jackson, and I'm sure, his family's watching this, I'm sure. He is 12 years old, has competed and won 3 ritual competitions. He's going to Maytag and competing in like 6 competitions. He's just got Rookie of the Year. He's surely going to get a lot of other things. And he's building himself up so much, but he's still only 12 years old. What happens after that? He has to wait a few years and gets his Chevalier or whatever. But it's not something like he's going to keep working through the years. He might just die out because there isn't a program like Delta, but now there is. And that's a great thing, because that'll keep members like him going, members like Mason Sellers going. And though they have state offices they can hold, this is something they can truly work for. And I don't believe any of the cabinet members who were coming up with it, like the way we put it out there, could already have it. Like when it comes out, they wouldn't have it. They'd still have something to work towards. And I think that's impressive for the program. Sep, do you have any thoughts about Delta?
I don't know anything about it, to be honest. Just basically what you're telling me, I like the idea of it. Again, I feel like Chevalier is just, it's been ingrained in me that Chevalier was like the epitome of Eagle Scout just because you work towards it. It's not something that you can achieve or aspire to. It's something that you earn based on the respect of others. Now, I recently have a conversation with an executive officer today that I realized that Chevalier wasn't the highest honor that I got. I feel like the highest honor that I got was my State Master Counselor, because the guys gave it to me. The guys elected me. Whereas Chevalier, it was something that was voted upon by a group of men that don't really know me, and I was nominated by people that kind of know me. So it just, the way it worked, I really found out that, my impact more was not necessarily what I did or the Supreme Council voting for me. It was the guys. So if we can create a program where totally DeMolay run, I like that. But, based off awards and honors, I don't know whether I would go for that. But I see what you're saying, David, where you want to make an Eagle Scout where you have requirements and stuff. I don't know. I feel like we have enough awards. I just feel like now we just need to use them. Use DeMolay of the Year or Distinguished Service Award or Medal of Appreciation or Hats Off Award, and just use them. Get people in, get people interested, get people active. Delta program, again, great idea. Build upon it. That's all I gotta say.
I think one of the things about it is, what we're saying is that it kind of takes away the politics from it because it's something that you earn yourself. But when it comes to adding in the other awards that increase your level of the Delta program, it kind of adds back in the politics of it. So I don't think there's any way to get rid of politics in DeMolay, in life, in whatever. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be hanging over it. But I think the program is a great thing as long as it's something that stays difficult to get. It stays, um, it gets revered, and it stays up there as being something that not everybody's going to get. Hopefully, only maybe like 20 to 50 people get it a year. That would make me happy because it's something that shows true determination, true love, and determination in DMLA. Chevalier, I think, is given out too often to too many people because, well, from what I've seen, because I've seen people get it just because maybe their dad's name or the fact that like they just want to give it out to anybody who's nominated, as opposed to them truly earning it. I think it's kind of gone down from what it used to be, which is a shame. And I don't think giving awards to everybody is a good idea either. I see that with other organizations, and I hate it. But I think this program in particular will benefit DMLA and benefit retention. And I got a message from Jared, and I just want to say I'm not saying that he's going to burn out because members don't just burn out. There has to be a reason for that. And DMLA kind of encourages burning out, in my opinion. And the fact that if they have a member that's so enthusiastic at a young age, or just when they join, DMLA kind of gives the opportunity for a member to burn out. They don't have something in place like Delta, other than state offices and international offices. Other than that, the Delta program's all there is. So I think it's a great thing. David, do you want to talk anymore on that?
On the Delta program, not really, but coming to at the end of the day of the show. Well, yeah, we could talk about some of the other programs. But really, there's been several points that have been made over and over: is retention, trying to keep guys, and trying to make sure they don't get burned out. And really, that's the big problem we have. And Derek, I wish you could have been there this weekend. Would have been able to knight you in a knighthood. I really wish you were at North Carolina. But you had an important place to be. You had to go out of office. Had to cry some tears. I mean, you know the normal. Don't worry, Sep and I both cried on ours going out. Oh, you didn't know there's video. There's video? Nah, not really. But I believe one program that needs to be implemented more in DMLA International is definitely the knighthood program. It's definitely kept the young men involved more, I believe, in the states that have it. I mean, Sep can attest about Florida. I mean, Florida's growing, and knighthood's a big part of the reason they're growing because they're keeping their retention based off of the young men that are, all right, so Tennessee, we have two state lines. You have the regular state officers or the state mass counselor, and then we have our priory, which we have a state line for, which is the knighthood equivalent. And the IKC is the Electric Knight Commander. He's the head over that. Generally, it becomes like a lot of past state mass counselors, as soon as they go out, they're burned out, they're done. But I've seen in a lot of situations, especially here in Tennessee, the past state mass counselor then becomes like the head of the knighthood program, and you keep him around because he goes from being the head officer to where he has more of a relaxed position, but he's still involved. And now he goes from dealing with all the 12, 13, 14-year-olds, trying to help build them up to become DMLAs and know what DMLA really is, to now he's part of another organization that's there to benefit the older men, to keep them involved. And it really, the leadership roles change. It's more relaxed, and it's a different atmosphere. And it's a great way to make sure if he got burned out, he stays around because now he's involved in something else. There's a little more for him to learn, a little more for him to do than he's able to do just as a DMLA. And it keeps him around, and then maybe after that year, he's not burned out anymore, and he's willing to start helping work with the young men again. But we were talking about trying to keep retention, and really it comes down to we've got to get DMLA to be a household name, and I don't think having to make giving state officers and other young men an incentive should really be how DMLA is. I know the three of us can attest that being a DMLA itself was the incentive. We didn't have to, let's say, win tickets to go see NASCAR. Of course, the guy from the South would say that. Or I got an Xbox for bringing in members. DMLA in itself, it is the incentive. Being a DMLA is an incentive, and you have to be proud. to be a DeMolay. And we just have to find a way to bring the pride back into the young men like it was back when DeMolay first started in order to make sure that DeMolay grows and we get back to everywhere. Because DeMolay is always 9 years from dying. We've all heard that for a long time. DeMolay is only 9 years from dying. And sadly, we may be a little less than 9 years from dying the way it's going. It's DeMolay in the continental U.S. is deteriorating quick. And I'd like to see something change. We just got to get the pride back in the young men in order to make it grow. Whether it's administration change among advisors, because maybe one of them is the problem. I mean, maybe some of the young men are the problem. It's just there's no telling what it is. But we have to find the common root of the problem. It's going to be different in every jurisdiction, but you have to find the problem and you have to find a way to change it, or this show isn't going to be lasting too much longer because we're not going to have anyone to talk to.
So, ending the show on that at the end of the day, I think those points were great. Pride is a major thing. So the word of the day for today for this show is pride. Use that in your chapters, and in your chapters, please talk about how either at the chapter level, state level, or international, how we can get pride back in the members. How we can get them to truly just feel honored to be a DeMolay and work hard just to accomplish something for the organization, to give back to the organization, to pay it forward for the next DeMolay who comes in, and not need incentive other than that. If you can think of a way to get that pride back into the members of DeMolay, into the organization of DeMolay, please let us know, comment, share our stuff, and write something on there, message us, do whatever. You can contact us at the End of the Day show on our Google Plus page or Facebook page, and we have an email address too, or just message one of us. So I just want to thank you guys again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you would like to talk about the video I made or any of the other videos we made or anything like that, please comment.
All right, well, I hope everyone has a good night. I know Brother Derek was breaking up there at the end. If there's anything you need from any of us, if there's any videos on promotion or anything you'd like to see any particular member make, I know Sep's great at public speaking, so is Derek. I like making videos too. We have other brothers on the show that are willing to make videos. I know some of you may have saw that we wrote out what the elevator speech was that was developed in North Carolina this last weekend. We will be making a video of that if you want to use that as a promo. If you have any videos or any ideas you have for us, please let us know. And at the end of the day, everything you do, let's do it for God, for country, and for the betterment of DeMolay. Good night.